Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a review/thought video for this week. And for this one, I want to be taking a look at Season 13 or Season 3 of Hulu's Futurama and Season 1 of Disney Plus's MarvelZombies, which I just finished watching both those series and all. And if there any part of this video you wish to skip to, timestamps will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this either on YouTube and Patreon. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that both Futurama and MarvelZombie is rated TVMA here in the US and all. So we'll get started first with Futurama though. Now, going into the next season and all, I was looking forward to seeing what kind of direction they were going to go with the series though. Considering the fact how Hulu revived this series and all, which I think is great and everything. And I will say that Season 13 or Season 3 of Hulu's Futurama definitely didn't disappoint. It still maintains a lot of the stuff that I do like about the shows and everything like that. So it's certainly nice to see this series going and everything. It'll be interesting to see how long Matt Groening wants to keep Futurama going and everything. But until we know if there's a series finale, which, let's be honest, this show has been canceled, revived, canceled many times before. That's a first for me though. But in either case though, it was definitely season I was looking to see how this turned out, and it was also one that didn't disappoint me at all though. So for Futurama, I'll break it down into what I like and what I didn't like, mixed, not 100% sure about. In terms of what I like though, I will say that there were a couple episodes that I did feel kinda stood out for me for most. The first one had to do with the first episode of Season 13, which was Destroy Tall Monsters, which had Bender take what looked like some sort of like steroid type medicine, but something for robots, and he used that to grow and everything. And what's really interesting is when they eventually take on what looks like Godzilla and everything, and they showed Bender fighting this Godzilla creature. It was basically almost like watching a sort of a spoof on those Kaji fights and everything, and I thought that was really neat and all. The other episode I did like was the Numberland Gaps, where Bender starts seeing different numbers here and there, and they go into this Numberland dimension and everything, and I thought that was really interesting. I like when they explore these odd areas and all, and the Numberland Gap is sort of one of those odd areas that the Planetary Express crew visits here and there. So that one's certainly neat. Murderoni is also another good one, and this one kind of, sort of in a way, sort of spoofs the current environment that we are in, as there are basically those aliens who own like the pizzeria, basically, where one of them is running for like city council and everything, and one is acting sort of like another character looks like a very Trump-like type character that pushes out conspiracy theories here and there, which you could see kind of the resemblance between the current environment that we're in today, though, in a certain degree. But they spoofed around the use of the pepperoni used for the pizzas that's made, that this alien pizzeria establishment that exists and everything. Wicked Human is also kind of interesting, as it shows basically how humanity sort of is descending into the heavens and all, and they try to look for a scientific explanation, and apparently Professor Farnsworth basically tries to do it in such a way that it ends up being viewed that he's basically creating a cult and everything. And you learn how a lot of these, how the human race is being descended into the skies, and it turns out to be sort of like aliens fishing for humans to a certain degree. So it was sort of odd one, but very interesting. And last but not least, though, I will say the White Hall was also a very good one, as it basically showed the Planetary Express trying to go into basically the White Hall. But what's interesting is how they do it is that they freeze basically the crew of the Planetary Express in basically like this alcohol beverage and all, and they have these clones that take care of the ship and everything while they're being frozen. and it sort of shows the ship going from like to take them billions and billions of years to reach the white hole and everything. So that episode was really neat indeed. So I definitely enjoyed that one. So those definitely were my favorite episodes and all. However, in terms of what I didn't like, mixed, not 100% sure about, I will say that the Whitehall one, while I definitely enjoyed that one, I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get to see what was behind the Whitehall, what was in the Whitehall in general, as the ending showed, you know, the clones of the Planetary Express crew going into the Whitehall, but we never get to see what's behind it. And it would have been really interesting to see whether it's something bizarre, weird, or way out there, or something completely different. That remains to be seen, but it would have been nice to have seen what was behind, you know, like the white hole and all. So that one, I will say, at least the ending to that episode was our episode 10 though was a little bit disappointed, at least from my view and all. Overall, I would say I still came away pleased with this season of Futurama, though. It's still held up very well indeed, though. I mean, at its best, though, as I mentioned, some of the episodes like Destroy Tall Monster, The Number Gaps, Murderoni, Wicked Human, The Whitehall were my favorite episodes for the season, and that certainly was good. But at its worst, though, I was a little disappointed with the ending to episode 10, The White Hole. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen what was behind, you know, or what was in the White Hole and all. But in either case, though, I'm still a fan of the series. I definitely enjoyed it and all, and I am looking forward to the next season of Futurama whenever that comes out and all, and it would certainly be interesting to see how far Hulu will take Futurama and how long Matt Groening is going to continue with the series. But in either case, though, I still came away pleased with this new season of Futurama on Hulu or Hulu Plus in general. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to the second part of my movie/review/thought video, and this one is a look at season 1's Disney Plus MarvelZombie. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my double review. For this one, I'm going to be taking a look at Disney Plus MarvelZombie and all. Now, Marvel television or Marvel animation, I will say, has been, some of the shows they've done have been sort of like could be a hit and miss depending on which one you want, depending on how you want to look at it though. In regards to Marvel animation, I do think some of the shows they've done have been pretty good. I think my favorite one so far has to be X-Men 97, with a little bit of that nostalgic feel, because I remember watching the original animated X-Men series back in the 90s, and to see that be sort of a continuation from that was very interesting indeed. But they also have done other ones like basically I think the Neighborhood Spider-Man, sort of like a mixture between like the old school comic with sort of a 3D look to it though, and that one wasn't pretty bad, although personally I would have liked to see the Spider-Man from the X-Men 97 get its series as well. So that one I would have liked to have seen have happen. Hopefully that's in the cards at some point down the road. But lately we've seen Marvel, however, push to do a lot of either R-rated or TVMA, and that certainly isn't a bad thing at all. That started with, you know, Echo, which was sort of a continuation from like the Hawkeye TV show and everything. We have seen recently the push with basically Deadpool and Wolverine, which did very well at the box office indeed. And Daredevil Born Again was also on TVMA, and I thought that was really good and all. So it was certainly nice to see Disney let Marvel be able to do some of these R-rated or TVMA shows indeed. And now the latest one comes in is basically Marvel Zombies though. And I didn't get a chance to watch this in October because there was a lot of stuff going on and everything. So I got a chance to watch this one, which was like a 4-episode miniseries. And after I watched all the episodes and all, I would say I liked the idea. It just, some parts didn't click with me as much as I would have liked to, but I still enjoyed the series nevertheless, and I do hope a second season does happen if that is in the cards in any shape and any form. So, like with Futurama, I'm going to break this down into what I like and what I didn't like, mixed, not 100% sure about. In terms of what I like though, I do like the idea of seeing all these, like seeing most of the Marvel heroes and villains to some extent turn into like zombies and all. I thought it was really neat, ranging from seeing a zombified Thanos to even some of the heroes like a zombified Captain America, Hawkeye, to even some degree like Ant-Man to a certain extent. So it was certainly interesting to see them in terms of using their abilities and all, even being in a zombified form though. And it does follow the classic zombie trio where, you know, if you get bitten by a zombie, you know, they eat you, but if you get bitten by one, you'll turn into a zombie indeed. There's that, you kind of see that a little bit when they try to stop the zombie infection from the character who played, I think, in Shinting and the Legend of the Ten Rings and all, and everything. So, and most of the characters here are being voiced by some of the folks who play these characters in the MCU and all. So it certainly was interesting indeed to see some of those people voice those characters. And also, I do like the idea of how you had most of the Marvel heroes and some of the villains as well become zombified to a certain degree. I also like the fact that we finally got to see Blade in action though. At least, I mean, we've been waiting for some time to see Blade make an appearance in the MCU for quite some time though, and we finally, at least to some degree, we got to see him though, but in some form though. From what I understand, he's being voiced by Tom Williams, not Marshala Allah, if I'm saying his name correctly though, which we're still waiting to see if a Blade movie is going to happen or not. There were rumors about the possibility he would appear in Midnight Sun, but they're sort of debunking that, at least for now though. But in either case, we finally got to see him in action, and he did a pretty good job indeed, especially when it came to slaying some of the zombies and all. And last but not least, I will say I did like the idea how he had the Nova Corp from, you know, the Guardians of the Galaxy series and all, basically quarantine the Earth and everything. I thought that was really neat, especially when some of the surviving heroes were trying to escape the zombified Earth to basically try to save, you know, humanity and all, but are blocked by the Nova Corps, who are basically have quarantined the Earth altogether to prevent people from escaping, which was certainly a neat idea. In fact, in some ways, it kind of reminds me a little bit of how the British Islands and Ireland have been quarantined, you know, in the 28 series, you know, 28 days later, 28 weeks later, 28 years later, and so forth. So it's somewhat similar to that to a certain degree, but in either case though, I just like the idea of having the Nova Corps basically blockade / quarantine the Earth in general. As far as what I didn't like, mixed or 100% sure though, going into this one, I mean, I kind of saw this in the same way when I saw Werewolf by Night a couple years ago when that appeared on Disney Plus and all, and that is, I wouldn't go into this expecting it to be scary or anything, or to be scary or anything like that. Like, don't go in expecting you're going to get something on the scale of like Dawn of the Dead, or, you know, like, as I mentioned, you know, 28 days later, 28 weeks later, 28 years later. Don't expect anything like that in that kind of horror element though. In a way, it just feels more like maybe paying homage to some of those zombie flicks or even zombie shows like, you know, The Walking Dead and everything like that though, and that's not necessarily bad. I just don't think expecting you're going to get like a horror type of approach indeed in anything like that. And finally, last but not least, I will say is that the story I felt was kind of a hit and miss. Excuse me. There are some parts that I thought were really neat, you know, in terms of seeing, you know, the fight scenes and basically fighting the horror of zombies and everything, and some of the Marvel characters being, you know, zombified and all. And there were certainly some good parts, but then the story just didn't really click with me as much as I would have liked it to be exact though, okay? Don't get me wrong, I don't think it was terrible or unwatchable in any way. It just it didn't click as much as I would have liked to. I mean, if a season 2 does happen though, it will be interesting to see if the second season would click with me if that is the case. But I will say for me, the story just was sort of a hit and miss, at least from my perspective and all. Overall, I don't think Marvel Zombies was that bad or anything like that. I thought it was an interesting idea. I know it's based off the comics and everything, but still, it wasn't a bad show or anything like that. Just maybe not the top tier like Marvel show like that we've seen on Disney Plus or anything, at least from my perspective though. At its best though, like I said, I like the idea of having most of the Marvel heroes and villains be turned into zombies. I do like the fact that we finally got to see Blade in action in the MCU, which is certainly nice. And of course, I like the idea of the Nova Corps quarantine the Earth and all. But at the same time, at its worst though, I wouldn't go into this expecting to be like a horror, like being scared to death or anything like that. Whether it's like movies like Dawn of the Dead or the 28 series, as I mentioned. Just like how I felt like when you went to see Werewolf by Night, don't expect it to be like a true horror film or anything like that. And like I said, the story I felt was kind of a hit and miss for me though. But either way though, I wasn't disappointed with this in any way. I still enjoyed it though, just maybe not, in my view, the top Marvel shows on Disney Plus or anything like that. Clearly the ending with episode 4 did indicate a second season, and it remains to be seen if that is the case though, but I wouldn't mind a second season of Marvel Zombies if that does happen or not. It remains to be seen if that will be the case. If we see that though, I mean, it may not happen at all. That could be the case either way, but given the ending though, it did left at a cliffhanger, and I do hope that a second season, at the very least, does happen, if it ever does or anything. Okay, this concludes my review/thought on Hulu's Futurama and season 13 and season 1 of Disney Plus's Marvel Zombies. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the new season of Futurama? Did you enjoy it by any chance? Were there any episodes that you felt like stood out for you the most? And what are your thoughts about Marvel Zombies and all? Did you like the approach that they did with this though? Do you think it stayed true to the Marvel Zombie comics in any way? Did you think the story was a hit and miss by any chance? Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube or Patreon. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye.